Welcome to Under All is the Land, episode 112, where the players dwell.
Do you remember 112?
I remember 112.
Peaches and cream.
I need it because you know that I'm a fiend. Getting freaky in my Bentley limousine. It's even better when it's with ice cream. Know what I mean? Peaches and cream. Yeah! You remember that one, Silke?
No.
Yeah. Dollar make that cash. Under all is the land, the real estate. Courtney and friends about to show you how to generate wealth. Get educated, do for yourself. Add a couple notches to your belt. Under all is the land. Under all is the land. The real under all is the land. Under all is the land. The real estate. Coming to you live from ACME Real Estate in Los Angeles, California.
If peaches and cream was a color, it would be you.
Oh, I'm going to take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, she's got the creamy
New
smooth
Insta
skin and the
handle.
peach
New
hair.
Insta handle, peaches and cream. Okay, let me think about that.
Slightly sexual, but
Oh, just a tad.
I mean, the lyrics of the song are very,
Very
sexual.
sexual.
Jeez Louise. I just forgot. I mean, you were listening to that when you were 10.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you even know what those lyrics meant?
No.
No. Okay, well, that's good. So
least
we
the
can
right
count
answer.
on like good old fashioned innocence back then.
Yeah, you know.
So today's theme is real estate is messy. It's been a really messy week in our real estate deals and in the news. There have been some huge news stories this week. Let's start with the big elephant in the room. And by elephant, I mean OpenDoor.
Justice prevails.
Justice prevails.
Yes.
OpenDoor gets slapped on the wrist.
Finally.
For lying to
Finally.
people.
Yes. So the FTC has fined them $62 million. So the commission gets the money. But supposedly it's to help offset the consumer complaints. So what they were accused of and agreed to settle on is that they misrepresented values. So they made projections about the future market value of homes, and they actually rolled the projections back a little bit.
Can we really quick explain to people watching that OpenDoor is an iBuyer? Like what they do is they try to purchase your home, and then they sell it, of course.
Right.
And they make the profit. But the way they do purchase your home is by basically
Making you an offer
making you an
that
offer.
you can't refuse.
well, what I'm trying to say is what they do is they basically tell you your house is worth. They give you
Right.
cutting edge technology market analysis by telling you this is what your house is worth, knowing that it's a lie.
No, it's worth a lot
It's
more.
worth a lot more than they tell you. You
Right.
can buy it. They have reduced transaction cost.
Mm-hmm.
They also tell you what it costs to fix up will be less than if you had an agent telling you what you need to put
Fix
into
up
the
in
house
order
to
to
fix
sell.
up. So it's like lies all the whole way.
Right.
And then people sell their houses to them,
Right.
and that's that.
And then they see their houses show up on the MLS and the houses resell for a lot more than what they were promised, and they feel robbed. So the first part of this is, yes, it is OpenDoor's fault. 1,000,000% for intentionally misrepresenting the real estate values. You and I and you all know that real estate values change with market demand, and some products are more desirable than others, and so they're using algorithms in order to make these projections. But if they artificially deflate it, which I'm sure they did, to see if the sellers would buy into that, this is going to be such an easy transaction. You don't have to do anything. We'll take it right off your hands. There should be something in the consumer consciousness that says this feels too good to be true. So, I am so glad that this finally happened, but I'm also like, hey, consumers, we've been trying to wake you up to this for a while. When it comes to iBuyers, it's why Zillow shut itself down too with the iBuyer program. It's not market value. It's only it's got to be based on projections because you haven't opened it up to the real market. Why would you not put it on the market, see what the market will do, and then determine whether or not you want to sell to some cash buyer for less to make an ease of transaction or whatever? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, because just some people don't know better.
But
I'm sick of that excuse.
I'm sick of that excuse too, because
I don't know that it's an excuse. I think it's a reality,
I'm sorry.
unfortunately, because so many people
I
get
disagree.
trapped in that. You read it online. Oh, this click here evaluation, and it sounds great. You're like, oh, cool.
No,
People need
I
to
disagree.
know.
I think that people are sometimes, they just don't use the resources that are available to them to fully educate themselves, and they make trigger happy decisions. And I
Right.
think in the case like with an open door situation, right? Like if you live in LA, you can throw a stone and hit a realtor, you know?
Right.
So I'm sure that one of these people could say, you know, okay, I just got an offer from an iBuyer.
Right.
Can you look this over and tell me if you think that this looks competitive? How do the terms look? Do they benefit me? Would I be better to go on the market? And those are all fair questions. Like, you've bought a property. You've spent cash to maintain that property. And to just acquire the property. Would you not want to protect your investment and get the most out of that investment when you go to sell it?
Right.
You know, unless you have a pressing situation. And obviously sometimes people do have that. But even in that case, if I made an investment in something, I would be trying to squeeze every dollar that I can out of that investment.
Of
and I would
course.
hate to see someone underpay me and then do some
Nothing.
shitty renovation.
Some lipstick on
Whenever
a
I
pig
say shitty renovation, we're talking about adding carpets in bedrooms with beautiful hardwood floors already. You know, painting
Home
it
Depot
white.
light fixtures.
You just super
the nipple
basic
lights.
flip, and then relisting it for substantially more than they bought it for.
Yep.
You know, and then
Yeah,
sometimes
that's
getting it.
part of this. They made
Yeah.
representations about how they made money when in fact they made all their money buying low, selling high.
Right.
And so, you know, in my opinion, Redfin and Zillow need to be careful too. Like on Redfin's site, it's like save thousands if you use our agents to write offers. How can you prove that your agent is going to, other than actually just giving people back the commission, you can't really guarantee from a consumer point of view that you're getting the best representation or
No.
that you're in fact paying a more fair price by using this discounted service.
And actually,
100%.
I would actually say that you are going to leave money on the table by
I think so
going
too.
with that representation.
I mean, I would agree
100%.
being on the other side of it. I
No,
just don't know
but
where it's
also being-
provable that you actually save thousands. Are you really saving?
Well, I can say, you know, there's a perfect example of this actually around the corner from us. And it's, you know, it's a property that the owners really did a beautiful job of, like, you know, sprucing up. It's not a flip. It was owner occupied. And, you know, they ended up listing it with one of these kind of like, you know, quick sale, like I think they make cash offer on your property and then, you know, they go and list it or something. There's some funky thing with
Something.
that. Yeah, but you know, the owner did all the prep work. The owner is the one who hired the stager, hired the photographer, and if left up, they have their own stagers and photographers, but even the owner knew that they're not good. Like they're
Right.
not going to get you the top dollar.
Right.
And even with all of that, all of those pieces that normally, you know, we would really be able to sell the shit out of a property with,
Right.
it took a while, you know, for that property to sell. And, you know, I wonder what kind of representation they're getting.
Well,
because-
this is the
being
other
on-
thing.
And
Sorry.
being on the other end of it, I can tell you they leave money on the table because it is what it is. The negotiation that
Right.
comes from that caliber agent,
Right.
I see it when I'm in a deal with them.
Right.
And I've had incidences or I had situations where the buyers represented by said agent came to me for advice.
Right. Yeah, I had
Because
that too.
It was always a different person. One came to inspections, the other one
Yep.
was showing,
Yep.
the other one was
That's
this,
the
the other
thing.
one
Yeah,
was this.
that is the thing.
There's not a person they talk to because they're all salaried and don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these buyers coming to me for advice, and I'm like, guys, I'm repping the seller. Like, I can't. You got to talk to your team.
I had
So
one with
I
a
know
big
for a
company
fact
too.
that they're not good.
The buyers were by themselves at inspections. I was
Yeah.
there, of course, because I'm the seller's agent. I'm going to be there. They didn't know how to prepare their own request for repairs. Of course not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know, if this was any other profession, I always say if you're going to get a boob job, you're not going to just use
Go
the
with the cheap-
cheapest
yeah.
plastic surgeon, right?
No.
You want one that has experience, that gets you good results, that has a track record of results, and hopefully some good bedside manner. But at the end of the day, it's a valuable asset. You don't want to just, whether you're buying or selling, and you don't want to just like leave it in the hands of somebody who's going to save you $1,000.
100%.
That's the thing that I feel like our narrative, and I've said this before, the marketing narrative of NAR should always have been, and especially when all these vendor brokers came out, in the value of representation, as opposed to people thinking they can saves pennies here and there and end up having horrible experiences and, ultimately regretting it. And who knows how many thousands of dollars they left on the table.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if these people can get together in a class action lawsuit and sue OpenDoor, or the FTC can get involved, then there are probably a bunch of unhappy other people milling about out there just looking for an opportunity to hold the company that claimed to save them money or something accountable for the same kind of behavior.
Well, I was just going to say, that it's like extremely predatory. Even whenever I hear the commercials, have you guys heard the commercials?
yeah,
The
sure,
OpenDoor.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I can say it. The OpenDoor commercials.
Yeah.
They come on the radio. You see them on TV. They're like, it's like listing your house as this like really daunting process, and that you're going through so much, and you're letting all these strangers in your house, and all these things, having issues with your realtor, da da da. And it's like, bro, there is a process, of course. But if you're choosing the right agent, that process should be pretty seamless, and also could result in you getting far more money than whenever you
Right.
sell it to these iBuyers who need to make a buck off of you underselling.
Right. They're selling
But
fear.
I think
They're
that's how
selling
people-
fear. That's
It's
thing.
a
And
popular
that's how
commodity.
people fall for it, though.
Yeah.
It's on freaking TV.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
pumping the information.
That's
and that's
it.
why
It's
I
so
think
true.
it's part of the fact how people are like, let's go with that. This sounds like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, but it's like, as a seller, would you not want the most people, the most eyes on your listing as possible to make sure that you're
It's
capturing?
the same thing with
just highest
pocket
and best
listings.
price.
It's the same thing.
I just don't think that they hear that. I think the messaging is just like, wow, this is really, they're right. I don't want 1 million people in here. I don't think the thought goes to, more people, more exposure, more money, da da da.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
it is unfortunate.
So, shall we move on to Berkshire Hathaway's, a lender that Berkshire Hathaway owns,
Trident.
being fined for redlining? Let's talk about it.
Another messy real estate situation for sure.
Yeah. So redlining, if you don't know what it is when banks pick and choose in the past, this is what they did. They'd actually pull up a map and draw red circles around the areas that they did not want to lend in, which tended to be areas that have black and brown people in them. So that is a outlawed policy for 40 years, and still there are plenty of appraisers who are still taking pictures of who the family owners are. There've been in Northern California, there was a big news article this year about a couple that I guess their appraisal was like $400,000 different when they restaged it with white family photos. Did you see that?
I did.
Wow.
I did. It's
It was
crazy.
like a major price difference. So we know that appraisers work they're supposed to be third party, but they know who pays their bills. And, I remember meeting an appraiser one time who told us that that's what they were doing in the 80s. They were instructed to take pictures of the personal photos inside the houses.
That's crazy.
To
This
help.
was before those laws were put
Nope,
in place.
it wasn't before.
Was it not?
It wasn't
Wow.
before, but it was when they were trying to find ways around it. Because let's face it, big companies, they have shareholders. They want to protect their profits. They want to make investments, But, they don't want to follow the rules all the time. And so they try to find ways around it and they get busted. And I'm sure this is not the only lender that's been doing redlining in these past couple of years.
It's shocking though that what the article said was that between 2015 and 2019, there's proof of them blatantly doing this, like refusing to lend in certain areas that have higher demographics of, minorities. So I think it was specifically Wilmington, Delaware, and
Philadelphia?
Camden.
Camden, New Jersey. And, they were actually not giving loans in those locations. So of course you're going to get caught. Like, how are you not going to get caught by segmenting entire cities from your loans?
Right.
It's just crazy.
Right, but look, it's $24 million. How much money did they make? I'm sure they're hedging their bets, figuring look, even if we get busted, the fine doesn't
24
even.
houses in New Jersey.
It's like, they don't even. It's such a slap on the wrist.
It really is.
It's. But also Berkshire Hathaway. It's like you have a higher level of accountability under real estate laws and to your community of agents and people who used to respect you. How did you let this happen? That's the thing with these big corporations, even like SoftBank and like all of these major brokerages that are funded by big money, foreign money, Kushner money, whatever. I'm like, is there any accountability? Do people even feel like they work for this big corporations that are, blatantly doing bad things? I don't even know if the realtors who work for Berkshire Hathaway would even care.
Know that Trident Lending did this, or they maybe didn't even know.
Yeah, I mean there are things that happen in these big firms where there's just kind of like no accountability. It's like you just hang your hat and it can trickle all the way up to the top, whatever the problems are. But it's not like it shuts them down. It's not going to shut them down. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's a little penalty, a little slap on the hands, we keep going until the next thing.
But it's a note to all of us that the shit is still going on.
Yep.
It's still going on. So if you feel like something is happening like that, you may be right. If you're a single woman applying for a loan and you can't get a home loan or your rates are super high. I mean, even Raina Carrillo, who's running for mayor of Inglewood, I was talking to her about it in the last real estate cycle during the boom prior to the crash. She was a victim of predatory lending, in fact. Oh, wow. And so what they sold her was a note that jumped like crazy. It was like 3% interest or something. And then it went to 9% or 15%, something crazy when it adjusted. There was like no cap, or I don't remember all the things. But it was something impossible. And of course she lost the house and then was part of a class action lawsuit. And so, the predatory lending thing is definitely still a thing. I don't think it should discourage anyone from trying, though.
No, absolutely not. And, it's definitely still a thing. Like, even First Republic, they got in trouble for the same thing. And that's why now they're offering these, like, super steeply low interest rates compared to most companies right now.
In some parts of town.
Yeah, and so, people are getting caught and they're having to pay it back in whatever way they're paying it back. But, frankly, it doesn't seem like enough. It seems like there needs to be way more accountability. And, I would encourage anyone who does have an issue with any lender to go to another lender and another lender.
For sure.
And have some, some perspective on whether or not you should have been approved,
right.
And then take that back.
One other thing to get back to the OpenDoor thing, I wonder if companies that are really focusing a lot on pocket listing, like inside baseball pocket listing services, would be subject to this kind of customer dissatisfaction if they find that the house down the street that wasn't pocket listed is selling for a lot more on the open market than what they were promised when they did it in-house. I mean, that would be another thing I'd be shaking in my boots about a little bit.
100%. 100%. I always think that it is very shifty. I was actually just talking with an agent about this. And it's funny because she was also talking about her experience with while she was on the listing side and the buyer had someone, or was working with a company that just kind of cycled agents through the process. So at every point in the process, they were with someone else.
Oh, they were with someone else.
So it was like, the person who had come with them to inspections, and knew one thing. And then the person who was actually helping them prep the request for repairs had no idea what was happening with those inspections. So like things that should have been included in that request for repairs weren't included because they weren't privy to that information.
Right.
And so then whenever the buyers got there for their final walkthrough, they were like, oh, well, why isn't this done? Well, it wasn't a part of your request for repairs.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There's always a different person.
If you had someone who was consistently there for you through the transaction, then they would know these things. They would know what you would want actually to be passed on to the seller. So,
well, I mean, I guess the question a consumer should be asking of their real estate representation is like, forget about the ads, forget about the promises. Take a look at where the company makes its money. So if the company makes its money on satisfied clients, that feels like a safe place to probably vest your trust. If the company makes money shaving money off the deal, buying low, selling high, or giving you rebates, or employing people on salary, or they make their money somehow some other sketchy way
on abundance
versus
I
quality. Shouldn't say sketchy, but I mean like some alternative to just service based, like reputation based, referral based.
Well, I would almost call it an unethical way. Because it's untrained people that don't know how to represent properly. That's not ethical.
Well, we talked about barriers to entry.
This is I think the rule of thumb that you're giving right now is like a good thing to apply kind of across the board. Like when it comes to agents and when it comes to the flips, you know, like you think about it, and the ones who do volume usually have lower quality than the ones who take their time and do maybe a few at a time or one at a time, you know.
That's
so
true.
yeah, you should definitely be questioning it all.
Well, that's
Yes.
why when we
Yes.
started ACME, I was working a lot with Better Shelter. And the reason why he branded himself when a lot of people didn't want to brand their flips is because he wanted the accountability. He was like, I deliver a high quality product. I want people to hold me accountable for what it is. And I want them to know I put my name behind it. And I felt that was very honorable because a lot of flippers at that time were just like, wham bam, thank you ma'am. Like you couldn't find them after closing. Something broke, they did not care. If they misrepresented something, you wanted mediation, you couldn't find them. They went dark. So, you know, I think that like, you know, that's a really good point. It's like, can you do anything, scale anything that is of consistent quality on a really, really big scale? And I'm just not fooled. The reason why we are a boutique and why I feel like we can be successful as a boutique is because we are quality based. We don't have that scale problem. You know, we're not just trying to get so freaking big with so many agents that we can't individually interact on the quality basis with each of our agents and give them guidance on how to be the best they can possibly be at their job.
Totally.
You know, so, you know, it's the French bread model of real estate. You know, you want delicious bread in Paris,
Yes.
you go to a bread shop.
Yes.
You want great cheese, you go to a cheese shop.
Yep.
You don't go to the supermarket to get bread in Paris.
No.
I'll leave that there.
Or cheese out of a spray can.
Or cheese out of a... Is that cheese? What is that
Yeah.
really?
Hey, don't knock Cheese Whiz. No,
So another... she loves junk food. This one.
I never knew what
I'm just
that was
kidding.
until I came here.
I haven't had Cheese Whiz. in a
I'm
long
like, seriously, had no idea they have this. And I'm like, wow.
And it's a weird thing now.
It's weird.
It's just a little salty, greasy thing.
Oh,
The NWMLS, have you guys heard about this? Northwestern MLS changed their policies this week and made news headlines because they are now not requiring cooperating commission. So let's think about that for a second. The reason MLS exists is because listing agents who want to share their listing agency commission with a buyer agent needed a portal to share that information with them, that they would do that, what the rate would be, and share the listing with them. That's how the MLSs were created. This MLS is broker owned, fully broker owned. It is not associated with NAR or realtor,
Wow.
Yeah, right. So they can kind of freely do whatever they want to do. And so what they've decided to do is change their forms so that it clearly says in the listing agreement, the buyer broker's commission is being paid by the seller. So there's no confusion, no lawsuit to be had. This is where it's coming from. And they can, I obviously put that on all the aggregator sites, but it is no longer a requirement, and I'm curious how this is going to work, that a listing agent cooperate with the buyer broker in order to get into the MLS. And you are not required to be a realtor in order to have access to the listings. And by realtor, I mean you can be a licensee and still have access to the showing information. So in our current system, in order to get access on a lockbox, super e-key, you have to be a member of the MLS. MLS is part of, is affiliated with our National Association of Realtors, California Association, and Greater Los Angeles. So that was part of that big DOJ lawsuit too. I'm just, I guess for me, without getting in too much into the depth of it, I'm impressed and inspired by the idea that an MLS that is fully broker owned is taking these matters into its own hands to better represent the actual concerns, update themselves. So, sub agency is like when all it used to be that everybody worked for the listing, for the seller, like the way that the real estate law worked until buyer agency existed. So we're still operating under these old MLS policies that are related to that, which no longer is relevant. So I'm just really, really encouraged to see, and I hope it catches on, broker-owned MLSs modernizing without asking permission from the National Association to represent their members in a more accurate, technologically advanced, responsible way. So kudos, NWMLS. Yay for you. I'm envious. I'm so envious. So anyway, you guys have any thoughts on that?
No.
Well, can I talk about how it could be practically applied?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you don't have to do a private listing. If I don't have to offer up like broker side commission, I can still market the listing. Is that sort of like a pocket listing? So the reason why the MLS was Clear Cooperation mandated that everyone put the listing in the MLS. Pocket listings are outlawed, except inside your own firm. And then people made all the exemptions to that. So in this case, just because I'm not offering a buyer agency commission, say I have a new construction project, the developers don't want to co-op, but I still want to market it and have it aggregate, I can still put it in there.
Right.
That's the genius of it.
Right.
It skips the whole problem with Clear Cooperation and now allows people who are not necessarily paying a buyer or broker commission to still advertise their listings and have them aggregated nationally if they want.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I think.
I don't.
I mean, I don't want to
Say it.
because you had. I mean, some really good stuff to say about
Say it.
No, well, no. I mean, it's not. I don't have any strong opinion because I feel like I don't know enough about it
Yeah.
to have a strong opinion. I guess.
Well, I'll post the article in the show notes and you can read it. I know it's like really inside baseball, but you know, I think the key piece of it is having a responsible system that is not based in archaic like protocol is the future. It's what needs to be happening. I'm encouraged by this. They're responding to the DOJ thing. They're changing the rules to protect their members and they're making it transparent. And there's a lot more to it than that. Like you can, you know, there's like dual agency conversations in their listing agreements now and all these other things.
Right.
So they're really making it very clear, very transparent. And I'm just so appreciative of the fact that they've made a gateway that doesn't violate anything for people to have their listing in the MLS, but still potentially market it the way that they want to or the way the seller instructed them to.
Right.
Which is really who our client is when we have a listing. It's the seller, not the MLS, not NAR. It's the seller that we have our obligation to.
That part is very true, and I love that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you know, yeah.
So let's, why don't you get our guest in?
Yeah, we do have a special guest today. Our special guest is our very own ACME agent, Jose Prats, who is also the founder of the West Adams Bike Tour and a generally awesome person. We'd love to welcome Jose to talk about real estate, social media, and community engagement. Welcome, Jose. And here you are.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I just saw this broke agent post on Instagram that says people think agents get paid too much, but don't know about the deals where we work hundreds of hours to get paid nothing. Ain't that the truth?
Facts.
So true.
It is true. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, 2 of those this year.
Yeah. Well, it sucks. It happens to all of us. It just happens. But it's true. That's why I feel like this podcast can educate people on what it is we're really, really doing.
So true. I was just talking to someone about how earlier today about how the shows glamorize it so much, but they don't show the muck that we go through all the time. I mean, it's constantly putting out fires, and sometimes things don't work out.
Yeah.
And those are unpaid hours.
Yeah. Or sometimes things work out and people have regrets, or like there's like this after effect of, you know, changes in the market and conversations with the parents. And like there's a lot of work that goes into what looks like a very simple thing on TV. It's like not that simple.
Or after the deal, you know, sometimes buyers or sellers need some extra help, or especially buyers setting up first time. And I'm there to help them out.
Yeah.
The deal as well.
What did you do before you were full-time in real estate?
I had a bike shop. I still do. It's called Adopt a Bike. So we sell vintage road bikes from the 70s and 80s.
From the 70s and 80s? I love that.
That is
Like
so
Stranger
cool.
Thingsy kinds of bikes?
Totally, yeah. So like Schwinn's, Univegas.
Schwinns. I had a Schwinn. Huffy.
Huffy, yeah.
How do you get your hands on
Huffy's
them?
not the best bike.
Not a great bike. It was a Kmart bike, but you know, it did my 80s childhood very well.
Right?
Yeah, I do not have any beef with my little pink Huffy. Anyway.
So cute. Did you have the ones with the little things
Yes.
hanging on the side? Like
Yes.
what is it
But
called?
I was kind of a
Tassels?
tomboy. Yeah, they had tassels. I cut the tassels off.
Oh.
And then I'd like pretend it was like a motorbike.
Did you put a
Like
baseball
not a
card on the
motorbike, a
wheel?
dirt bike. What?
You put the baseball card on the wheel to make it sound like a motor?
No, I did not do
That's
that.
funny.
I did not do
See,
that.
I had a Spice Girl bike.
Oh, you
Oh
did?
my God, you did not.
It did. It had a little radio that played Spice Girl music.
If
and
you want to hear
yeah, you know that one.
the British girls.
Oh my
So
gosh.
how did you get your hands on those 80? Or how do you get your hands on those 80s bikes? Like, how do you find them?
Yeah, so we started going to swap meets, yard sales, estate sales, anywhere you find vintage things.
Okay.
You can find bikes.
So cool.
And then
Very
we became known and famous for it. So then people started coming to us with bikes.
That's so
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have like an Instagrammable moment at your bike shop where
Uh,
people, when they get their new bike, could like
Totally.
take a picture and be on your Adopt a Bike Instagram?
Yeah, so the whole building is brick and ivy. So like every wall is a perfect Instagrammable moment.
And you do that?
What's that?
So if I came and got a Huffy,
Yeah, if you
you
want.
could take,
yeah.
and I dressed up like I did in the 80s, I could like take a total Instagram photo and be on your Adopt a Bike IG.
Oh my god.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing a flash
Have
of
you ever
something.
seen Now and Then?
No. What's
Okay,
that?
you have to watch that. It's one of the best movies ever. But one of the scenes, I think it may be the lead scene, is like the four girls, they're like riding with their little radio, playing a really cute song, and they're like riding up the street with like, it's like a tree-lined street, but it's just so cute with the four girls on their bikes. We should do that.
Let's do that. Sponsored by Adopt a Bike. So this is in West Adams. What's the address of the bike shop?
1905 South Harcourt.
And you live in West Adams too.
Correct.
How long have you lived in West Adams?
Well, I've been here since 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has it changed a lot since you've been here?
Oh, yeah, totally. There's pretty much no coffee shops or restaurants, or I guess there was older restaurants, but nothing like kind of hip and trendy like you have it now.
Right. But even so, when your family started to expand, you decided to stay in West Adams, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just found, it has a community, kind of has an identity, and has a really rich history, which is a big reason I started doing the West Adams bike tour.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, it's like a difficult, I'm finding, bridge to build to connect with community when real estate sales have very polarizing impacts on certain communities in LA. But you've done an amazing job of being super involved, super invested, and it's really worked to add to the integrity of your presence here. Can we talk about what you do on your West Adams bike tour? Like, how's that happen? What's the jam?
Yeah, so it is a community event. It's open to everyone. Since I have a bike shop, anyone, even if you don't have a bike, you're welcome to come. Just let me know and I'll have a bike ready for you.
What day does it happen?
It's the first Sunday of every month.
Okay, and then what do you guys do? You meet at the bike shop, get on a bike.
Well, now we meet at the All States Hotel.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Okay.
we've partnered up with them, and we go there, and then we just go around the neighborhood. We go to the restaurants. We talk about the history, which is a really big part of it.
Tell us about the history of West Adams.
Yeah, West Adams is pretty unique. So was one of the original neighborhoods of Los Angeles. So back in the 1900s, it was downtown LA in West Adams. And people that lived in West Adams were, really big oil barons, titans of industry. So that's why you see on the historical side really big scale homes. And it's gone through, its ups and downs, and it's on the rebound right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did the 10 freeway impact West Adams?
Yeah, so it went largely through the historical section and tore down a lot of homes. A lot of beautiful, stately craftsman homes. Like we're talking like 4,000 square foot homes.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was rerouted, right? It was supposed to go through Beverly Hills, wasn't it? And then they
Something like
lobbied against it, and so they put it in West Adams, which at the time was, wasn't it like a primarily black, or it had a big base of, I think it was historically
black and Mexican
Yeah,
people?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And so that's why they then, so just another just point, in line with what we were talking about earlier about how racism affects the real estate industry, taking a major freeway and putting it through a place where people who have built major wealth have built these large homes, and taking it from one place that's primarily white to a place that's primarily black, and then desecrating their property values with the freeway.
But here's the absolutely, and this is the reason why ownership is so important. It hedges against displacement. It gives you a voice. And so when if I ever hear, and I'm talking about, this because we're family members, but like there are people even in our family who it's been like, you need to own, or you need to get your license, and it's like this agony to try and make people see there's a way out. There's a possibility of using the transformative power of real estate to get actual power in your neighborhood. There's resistance, you know? And I was just talking this morning about how, you know, we have to change that narrative.
Yep.
And it's not always like, well, let's ask for more government intervention or ask for more state handouts or something. I just feel like it's so right now,
Yes.
it's
You
so
need your
possible.
own independence. You need to own your own place.
You need to own. This whole country has been built on property ownership.
Yes.
The people who were allowed to vote in the beginning of the origins of this country were the property owners. You know, and it's like when you look at the history of how cities are built, how deed restrictions are made, how people make choices about where they want to live, it's all based on ownership. They can't displace you if you own. I think in the beginning of LA's history, probably that was less true. I saw this picture of a lady yesterday on a historical Facebook site, and it was like she's holding a gun, like a rifle, and she's sitting in front of her house with all of her little kids and people around. 3 LA sheriffs dressed up as something else to try and get access to her house. And they went in there, got the rifle from her, like manhandled her because they wanted to bulldoze her house to make room for the highway.
That's crazy.
That's LA. It was like the wild, wild fucking West out here, you know? But now it's not as much supposed to be anyway, and there are more protections for people. So it's like, use it to your advantage, and let's get people on the home ownership path.
Yeah, and getting back to what Dominique was saying, West Adams is really unique. It was nicknamed Sugar Hill during the 1930s.
Really?
Yeah, because there was, like you were saying, it was a lot of African Americans live in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and they weren't allowed to own property then. You know, that didn't happen until the 1940s, and they rallied together. Because being in LA, they were in Hollywood and, you know, well-known faces and names. So they got together and were able to push for the Supreme Court eventually to pass for the Fair Housing Act. Yeah.
How about that,
That's
West
amazing,
Adams?
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So
Boom.
So
Wow.
West Adams is a big part of the Fair Housing Act and just in getting the laws changed.
Yeah. I mean, that is really huge. And kudos to you for educating people as you drive around, you know, on your bikes in the neighborhood. If we see you, you have to wear a helmet, right?
You don't.
You
If
don't
you're-
have to wear a helmet.
Yeah. If you're over 18, you don't have to.
Okay.
I advise people to. I have a waiver.
Yes, I was just going to
Gotta
say,
have a waiver
gotta
these
have
days.
a waiver.
I have a waiver. Yeah.
So, you know, your Instagram is like hugely popular. It took off like hot cakes,
Like a rocket ship.
like a rocket ship. Took off like a rocket ship. And how many followers do you have on Instagram now?
Just over 60,000 now. Yeah.
60,000.
Let's get them to 100K, folks.
Yes. So follow.
Click and like.
Let's talk about your Instagram account. What's your handle?
The Jose Prats.
The Jose Prats. I was about to say at the real Jose Prats because there are so many people who are imitating you
Yeah,
and
that's
trying to make fake accounts. So it's at the Jose Prats, Prats.
Yeah.
And your Instagram has really gotten wild because you feature a lot of what?
Spanish homes. Yeah.
Why do you love Spanish homes?
I don't know. It's just the kind of the architectural style that spoke to me being in LA. So I just love that, you know, it's got a lot of curves, the original features. There's so much warmth to a home too. Because I think now when we see homes going super modern, they're just becoming boxes and kind of being super, you know, neutral and not warm and inviting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think Spanish homes are something people want at the moment.
They definitely want to see it on your Instagram for sure.
Right.
What do you do that's so unique and special? Why should people follow you?
So I actually go in these homes myself. Mm-hmm. So I go and film and kind of highlight all the features that I really like. And I think it comes across, and then people are really interested in seeing it. If they're not in LA, then they have opportunity to come out, you know, see it on Instagram.
And you're one of the like success stories of how to use Instagram and real estate in a value add way to generate leads, right? Is that your biggest source of lead generation?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great. So many people reach out to me from all walks of life, you know, people, first timers, you know, people, investors, experienced, some people of notoriety. And yeah, some developers now trying to do really big projects.
Yeah, and Jose, but you've done some projects, right? And you're doing one Spanish style of your own now, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah. So I've done three home renovations. Currently doing my 4th.
Okay.
And yeah, it's really fun. I document it on Instagram, so you can watch along as I'm doing one in West Adams.
Are you doing it at the Jose Pratt's Instagram?
Yes.
Oh,
Good.
Oh, I love it before and after.
So right now there's a before and during.
Okay. Right, obviously it's not done yet.
When are you done with that projected date?
No projected date at the moment.
That's an honest answer.
Yeah, I've learned that
Yes.
in
Honest
construction you
answer.
can never say when it's going to be done. And this is a big one. We plan on
True.
doing an addition,
Right.
ADU,
Okay. So
pool.
next year
Yeah.
at one
Oh,
point.
you're doing an addition. I didn't know that.
That's on the list. We'll see if we get
I
to
love it.
Yeah.
And he's got beautiful elements too, like arches and like, just like the Spanish tile roof and just such a sick house. It's going to be good.
That's the design hack I'm testing is you can never have enough arches. So
I
we'll see.
love it.
I
Thanks.
agree with
It
that
might be
statement.
true.
We were
It
just
might be
talking
true.
with one of our flippers about that. We're like, add arches.
Yeah.
Add arches.
Oh my
Let's do
gosh.
it.
I went into one of my flippers projects and he was like, I was thinking of getting rid of these arches. And I was like, no, slow motion. Like,
Protects the arches immediately.
yeah. I'm like, why would your instinct be to do that?
Yeah, seriously.
It's so weird. But yeah,
It's
a lot
hard
of
to
people
put that
do.
arch back after the fact.
It really,
It won't be
well, it won't
Just
look,
leave
it
the
won't look
arch.
the same. Just leave the arch.
Leave the arch.
Yeah. I mean, have people reached out to you from around the country? Are you getting those kinds of
Around the world.
inquiries? Really?
Yeah.
What do they say?
Well, you're curious about the homes, curious about the market, and how they can get in, how they can start purchasing.
Really? They want to buy in LA because of your Instagram?
Yeah. I've had
How
people
about that?
I've had people not thinking about purchasing, but seeing my Instagram has moved them to contemplate and even move forward with purchasing.
I love that,
That's
Jose. That's awesome. That's how you know you really hit on something.
Because you're showcasing the beauty of the houses that there are here.
Correct.
Yeah.
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 And surprisingly, I get a lot of agents in LA who ask me about where's that house.
Right.
Yeah.
So just because your house is on the market, doesn't mean everyone's going to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I feel like my Instagram is reaching beyond.
You could say, I'll tell you for a
Yeah.
fee. Let me see if any of my buyers want it first.
And you know what? It's funny because I never realized how unique LA's architecture is until I started traveling more and seeing that like most places have like very specific styles that are just kind of like redundant. Like every house looks the same and it is a certain style.
Yep.
A lot of subdivisions, a lot of that going on, but we have such a variety and our Spanish styles are just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of LA was built in the 20s.
It's also because we're allowed to sort of build what we like. If you like Spanish, build a Spanish. If you want this, build that. In other parts of the world, I can compare to Germany, for example. There's certain colors you're not allowed to paint your house.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It has to be a uniform thing, and houses sort of looks a little bit kind of the same in those subdivisions, for example. My sister couldn't paint her house purple if she decided to. She lives
Well,
in
that's a
Germany.
terrible, terrible color. To
Not
paint your
that we
house.
would ever
We
want
definitely see that around
Not
LA.
that we would want to do that.
I'd ban that too.
Bad example. But my point is, you can't just do
Right,
that.
can't just do
and
that.
here you can do whatever you want.
Unless you're in an HOA or an HPOZ.
Right. Okay. Of course.
Do you think West Adams should be, like the whole area should be historic?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think so. I think the homes that are like participating in that, maybe anything built from the 20s or 40s, it'd be nice for it to be maintained. But it is right now in West Adams Terrace, the area I'm in.
Yeah, there is an HPOZ, but it doesn't cover all of West Adams.
True.
So that's the case in Jefferson Park too. It's like you're in or you're out of the HPOZ. I mean, I love driving down an HPOZ street. The problem is sometimes people who are long-term owners or people who maybe don't have enough money to go through the architectural design review board process might not be encouraged to keep up their houses on the outside. That's the only risk you run, I think.
Yeah, that's one thing that's lacking. Maybe a program to if people don't have it or below a certain income, they can help them get there to participate.
That's a
with
great idea. Actually, that's a great idea.
Yeah, but
That's a great idea.
because it is very.
We could
expensive.
do that too. We could make a community sponsorship kind of a thing for people who are in HPOZs and don't have money to do the, facade work. Because, I will tell you, I used to live at Sweetser in Beverly, not an HPOZ, but it is one of the neighborhoods that's been destroyed by McMansions. Like, I was in a one-story Spanish, and next to me was a two-story big contemporary box. And like they are from their second story, they can look right into us. And from our second story of the garage where my mom was living, she could look right into their pool and see what they were doing all night long. And, you know, it was very like...
Sounds fun.
Was that interesting?
The neighbor was a celebrity
Like they were
and he liked to
doing
sing
all night.
Chicken Fried and he was from Pennsylvania. So we actually
you
liked
go.
the guy. You know, he was like cool.
And invited you. Well, that
Yeah, he
sounds
invited
weird,
us over
actually.
to the Halloween. They did like a trick. He was very cool, very nice guy. And we're like party people in the house too. So it's all good. But I'm just saying, like, it could be an invasion of privacy to have these one stories next to these enormous, towering, big, not architecturally consonant kind of structures.
So I'm glad there are McMansion laws.
I'm glad there are McMansion
Sure.
laws. There could
For
be whole
sure.
neighborhoods of McMansions if they want.
Yeah.
But don't tear down the 1920s
No,
Spanish
100%.
style homes to get to those, you know?
Yeah, we have plenty of desert space outside LA. Do
Plenty
what
of
you
space.
want, right?
Well, there are plenty of places that don't have those rules where, you know, it's like more variety, less significant, you know? But it always like breaks my heart a little bit when I see a Spanish being torn down.
Yeah, 100%.
Ouch.
Yeah. So what recommendations do you have for agents who want to be more successful on Instagram?
It's going to take discipline and consistency. You know, you got to be at it every day. You got to be making content and make it true to yourself. And I think that's what really will come across.
How many posts do you make like a week or a day? Whatever you think.
Yeah, at least one post a day.
Okay.
And then we have, you know, stories. I put a lot in my story, what I'm doing day to day, from remodel, helping clients.
So just showing people what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah, like how your day looks.
'Cause I think a lot of people don't realize how much work agents do.
My day would be a lot of telephone calls. It'd be very boring on Instagram, I think.
My day would be me speeding down the freeway to get to the next place.
Oh, there's that too.
Lots of cars.
It's me texting while driving, calling Nick. Like,
Lots of eating in the car. It's not a pretty picture.
Lots of sorry, I'm gonna be 5 minutes late.
Lots of cussing.
Lots of cussing. Lots of damn it. Another red light.
Lots of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. So thanks for holding the fort down for us, Jose. Thank you. Make sure to follow Jose Prats at the Jose Prats on Instagram. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank
We're
you
so
so
proud of you.
much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Jose is just the coolest now.
The best.
Yep.
Yeah.
The best.
You can imagine being on the phone with him as a client, being like, ah, blah, 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 blah. He's like, it's gonna be okay. Like he's like so
I've
mellow.
done this before.
Can't rock his boat.
I got you.
You know what? He's amazing. Like I've had people who have come up with like reasons why they can't do certain renovation things, like enclosing a hood. He's like, no, this is the hood you use. This is how you do it. Da da da. I'm like, thank you,
Done.
Jose. Thank you.
Yeah, he is amazing.
Hear
We're
it
very
from the
lucky to
best.
have him.
It's awesome.
And, you know, I will say, I do think ACME is full of agents who are authentic and really great people. And I'm
I
very
agree.
proud of us. So a couple other things. So this is our, you know, summer wrap up. We are episode 12. It's been a wild ride. We're going to take a little hiatus while we enjoy our families and our vacations for the rest of August. But we'll be back in September. Until then, I want to leave everyone with a New York Times article that was brought to my attention this morning. Investing in real estate as self-care. New York Times today article.
Love it.
This is good.
Yeah. And so really it's about this this group of investors called Invest Her. And it's about, you know, females investing in real estate and how just there's more to it than just making money. Like there's a lot in it, actually. There's creating spaces, there's color, there's staging, there's design, all these things that really resonate with a lot of women. I know men too, so I'm not trying to be exclusive, but I am saying for women, I think in the past, a lot of reason why I wrote Break Up With Your Rental, in fact, is because a lot of women that I was talking to were turned off by the idea of using real estate to make money. It was almost like, we'll leave that to our husbands, or I'm only going to buy when I get married, or like all of these other excuses why the word investing even felt very foreign and very masculine. Kind of looks like stocks and 401k salespeople and all that
Like,
kind
I
of
don't know
thing.
anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know about money and how money works, so I'm going to stay
Yeah,
way out of that
yeah.
conversation. So I think one of the beautiful things about this article and about what it is, where we're moving as an industry in female investing, is that it does take into account those things that are visceral for a lot of women that add a lot of value to the creation of home process.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So self-care, it's like therapy. It's like Zen and the art of real estate,
Empowerment.
Empowerment, but also because it's holistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the design and the attention that you have to take in order to create a really beautiful product is something that I think women are really, really great at. Like some of the best flips that I've worked with were done by female designers.
down.
100%.
Yes,
And there has to
100%.
be a woman involved in that
Yep.
process. I mean,
Yes.
to be fair, I have seen some male designers who are very
exceptions.
considerate. So they do exist. But
Yeah, they do
definitely
exist.
there's a different kind of functionality and thought that goes into homes that women are creating.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
And
There
people
is-
see that. They come in. Did a woman design this?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like you
I
can
knew
tell.
that. You can tell.
Yeah.
There's something to that. And that's okay.
I think
Let's
it's great.
all move our things together and create.
Yeah, it's another thing. It's like we're so conscious in our industry about saying the wrong thing, pissing off the wrong people. Can we say the word this or say the word that? Like,
Or
is
because
that going to...
most words we can't say.
Oh my God, though. It's
But
like...
it's true.
That's
It's
why we
obnoxious.
created Under All Is the Land, to have a real safe place to have an honest conversation and talk about things in a real way that is not afraid of public opinion, that is the insider scoop on how shit's really going down in our city and in our industry. So I am so proud of what we've done this season, how many followers we have on YouTube, which is continuing to grow, how many views we get on every episode. We're just like really honored to have your eyes on us, and we're looking forward to creating a new season of content. So we'll see you next time on Under All Is the Land.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.
See you in September.
Yeah, yeah.